What's going on, Crosstown leaders? Just want to leave you with a quick word about leadership and specifically of how to lead kids. Um, Something that is a dynamic that I think is always present is do you want to function with authority over your kids, or do you want to function out of a relationship with your kids? Um, I'm going to answer that several different ways, but the quick answer is you want both. Um, there is a desperate need for kids to have an authority figure in their life that is leading them, guiding them, directing them in the direction of God, directing them to Jesus. And many of our kids don't have solid family situations, so having somebody that's more of a mom or a dad in their life is so crucial. And sometimes that includes um, saying the hard things or disciplining or redirecting kids if they're not paying attention. But then there's also the flip side of kids need somebody that is a friend to them, somebody that just builds a relationship with them, um, somebody that's just going to be their buddy. And it's so important to have both of those dynamics because kids don't just need somebody else that's telling them what they should and shouldn't do. Kids also don't just need somebody that's going to be their buddy and is going to let them do whatever they want and kind of let them take their own path. We need to have both of those dynamics present with our relationships with our kids. I saw this just over the last couple of weeks. Um, we've historically had, I think every church has a challenge of engaging kids in worship, specifically the older boys in the children's ministry, because they are too cool to dance, they're too cool to go down front and to do motions and things like that. So I've seen um, two different approaches. One works, one doesn't. The first approach is to guilt them into it. Say, come on, guys, if you love God, you need to come down front. You need to do these motions. You need to do this. And very rarely does that have any long-lasting impact. The other way that does work is to challenge them on a relational level, to look them in the eyes and say, hey, you know what? This is something that's really important for us to honor God by worshiping and by just showing our love and our appreciation for Him. It's something that's really important, and it really is something that God loves when we do it. And challenging them and say, hey, you know what? I want you to do this. I challenge you guys to take this step. Sometimes it's maybe not the easiest thing, but it's a really good thing to do. When you approach it from that relational level and just engage with kids and talk with them, it changes the dynamic. Um, so there's those two different things. There's the relationship side, then there's also the respect side. Um, and we have to have both. I had a small group leader come to me this past week, and they were saying, "Hey, little Johnny's not listening to me." This is one of our weekend small group leaders. He's not paying attention. He's not doing what I tell him to do. That leader had great relationship with the child, but didn't have respect. And this boy was kind of running wild. He was doing his own thing, and this leader needed to bring him back and needed to function with a level of authority. Um, and it's important to have that too, because understand, as leaders, we're in charge. We're the ones that are making the decisions. We're making the tough calls, and you can't always trust kids to make their own decisions. Sometimes, if you let them make their own decisions, that's very unhealthy. They may eat candy all day long instead of having real food. That's a decision that parents have to jump in and say, no, 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 you're going to eat this types of food. But then there's also the need to sit down with kids and build a relationship. So just constantly wrestle with that balance of functioning with authority over kids and also functioning with influence. Um, I try to use these two different things on a regular basis with kids. There's times that I'll have to jump in with authority and say, you need to stop doing that right now and sit down in your chair and pay attention because you're distracting other kids. Very firm, very direct, very much an authority statement. But then later on, I always try to go back to that child and just gain some influence and say, hey, what's going on? How you doing? What did you do this past week? How was your soccer game? What's going on? So what I would challenge you to do is work on both of those dynamics. You want to have respect. You want to have authority. You want to function in a leadership position. And you want kids to follow your lead when you have to tell them what to do. but you also want to be able to build influence with them. You also want to gain their trust. You also want to earn a voice in their life, and you also want them to want to listen to you. If they feel like they have to listen to you all the time, eventually they're gonna pull out. If they feel like what you have to say is very important and they trust you, it changes those dynamics. So what I would encourage you to do, as you're leading your groups this coming week, work on both of those dynamics. Typically, everybody leans toward one side of that, and you have to be intentional about working on the other side. So understand those two things. You want to be a strong leader. You want to have authority. You want to be able to capture respect from the kids, but at the same time, you want to have a relationship with them. You want them to want to listen to you. You want to have influence with them. So work those two angles. It really helps you to be more effective as a leader. Our goal is to draw these kids close to Jesus. And sometimes you need both of those dynamics to be able to do that. So make sure you're working on both of those things. Looking forward to seeing you all this week. If you need anything, please let me know. Love to be able to help out with stuff. I'll see you later.